Hello, Shalom, RasTafari. Now we're continuing on the study of the covert war, the COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence, COINTELPRO, the satanistic agenda, you understand, against His Imperial Majesty, against Christ and His kingly character, against the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, against I Godfather, Qedamawi, Haile Selassie, the covert war against Haile Selassie first, the King of Kings of Ethiopia, and the plot to take the Ark of the Covenant. All right, and since we first published a basic vid, making some basic connections between what we were seeing and the evidence that was being presented to us, you understand, very persuasive evidence, it wasn't quite conclusive. You understand? It wasn't quite conclusive there. But we continued in studying and in the ministry and watching also other vids out there. I think we're going to segue to that particular vid that we have on hold, and hopefully we might have to refresh the window because in the preparation for this, you can see some of the bugs. You know, you probably got these bugs in your computer, but don't fear these things. Fear none of these things, all right? All right, now, if you can see over here in the fade, this is Meles Zenawi, right? Meles Zenawi, right? And this is, I think, Alpha Work, Isaias Alpha Worky, right? Eritrea, right? So there's a political backdrop to this. Now, we're in the 36, maybe 37 and counting year, you understand? Since the godless and creeping coup against His Imperial Majesty. Now let's recall that it's His Imperial Majesty who said, and let's see if this window opens up right here. Right? Let's see, let's close this, delineate this, let's bring this up right here. Because it was unstuck in the last, okay, here we go. So let's copy this picture right here. Right? And this from the April 6th. Right, April 8th, April 8th, 1966 issue of Time magazine. They asked the question, is God dead? In fact, this will go well like this, right? Is God dead? Now, are you seeing more of the fuller picture? Now, if you look at a vid, I think Jordan Maxwell, he talked about this in one of his vids, talking about some people think that the New World Order, the conspiracy, is just political or financial or economic. They don't recognize the conspiracy is spiritual. You understand? It's spiritual. That's why they try to keep you from the Bible. That's why they try to keep you from being born again. That's why they try to keep you from those things. You understand? Because then you will begin to overstand. And if you overstand, then you will have the potential as well to overcome. So first Time magazine, and when you study those who study the Illuminati, the Freemasons, the Luciferian, Satanists and everything, they do this a lot. That first they project an idea, right? Almost like what happened with Marcus Messiah Garvey. He saw it written in a newspaper that his obituary, and then he died. You understand? This is a form of occultic magic. You understand? So this is kind of a magic that they were doing. You understand? And you're seeing a visual of this, the actual Time magazine article. You understand? And so when we speak about the so-called Illuminati and the Freemasons, there's a lot of false prophets out there or false news bearers out there that would make you believe, belie Eve. See, Ethiopia was belied like Eve was belied. She was beguiled, right? To basically bite the hand, right? Bite the proverbial hand that fed her. That fed her. All right. So let's just do this right here because let us put this, move this around. Okay. So we're gonna move this around so we can have this on the pull up right there and show you this right here. So is it making more sense? Is it making more sense? You understand? And we're just using the evidence. If we were just to judge by the evidence that we have, You know what I'm saying? Judge, they wanted the old man dead. You understand? The old man. They try to say His Majesty was senile. They try to say all these kind of things. But as we're now studying the half of the story that wasn't told to us, as we're researching these things, we're finding these things now and seeing the fuller picture. But now, let's not forget that it begins in the spiritual world. Then it becomes psychological. And then we see manifestations of it, you understand, on earth or in the phi cycle or the physical. So from the spiritual to the psychical or the soul level, feelings and thoughts, hearts and minds, Jehovah's, and then it becomes manifest. It becomes a physical manifestation. All right? So now, keep this in mind. Now remember, this is a clip of the students, right? The students who were students of Haile Selassie University. Remember that His Imperial Majesty, you understand, was the one who brought education and brought development and brought progress to Ethiopia, virtually bringing Ethiopia from like the 16th, 17th century or so to the 20th and even into really the 21st century. Now, there's a good vid out there called The Man of the Millennium. You should check it out for yourself, all right? That will give you an Ethiopian, a native Ethiopian from home testimony of and concerning these particular things right here. Now, I want to stay on this, is God dead? Rasta, your God is dead, subject matter and theme. You understand? I want to stay on this particular theme for a moment, and I want to open the Oriana Fallaci interview, and I want you to see it for yourself, because some might just hear this, right, but they need to see it for themselves, all right? Just looking at some of the pics right here. Is God dead? Is God dead? All right, so this is a campaign. So let's recognize what this whole New World Order conspiracy goes way back. So let's write in right here Selassie, right? Let's write Selassie. Let's write Oriana, right? Oriana. And I think she spells her name Fallaci or Fallaci. I'll try one C right now. It might be two C's. Okay, that's the woman right there, right? That's her, Oriana Fallaci. This is her right here, right? Also is one C. That's her right there. Almost like Gloria Steinem, right? Doesn't she look a little like Gloria Steinem? I think she's really dead now. You know what I mean? In a sense, she was dead then. You know, dead in her sins then. But I think she's really physically dead now, right? So this is this might be this right here. Let's get this picture right here. Now later on the Ethiopians, we call them Obamanites. They have the tribe of Obama. Anyway, and we've been hearing a lot of stuff about His Imperial Majesty. Or rather Obama, right? Been hearing that Obama is a socialist, so forth and so on. And it's amazing that there are some socialistic links and everything there regarding and concerning Barack Hussein or Barack President Obama, right? I wouldn't say communist, but, social things, social policies, rah, rare. That's his democratic platform for his re-election. But for us as RasTafari, it's not for us to go to the east. Go to the left or the right. That's all I want to say. Go to the left or the right. I'm here trying to surf this, so excuse me for those little boo-boos right there. It's not for us to go to the left or the right, because some people say, wow, this time that we're in. You understand? Oh, wow, look at this time that we're in. We got Obama, and some of us don't agree with some of his policies. Like the abortion stuff like that, and some of this other kind of stuff, even some of this homosexual kind of stuff, because Rastafari, that goes against our covenant, our divine heritage. You know what I'm saying? We're not speaking to those individuals, because remember, a lot of children have been abused, and a lot of people have been programmed in trauma, so they believe these things. That's what we have to be about be about the gospel. All right, so in getting this set up right here, right, let me just take this, move this down a little bit, right? Okay, bring that here and bring that here. So we can see this in a full view right here, all right? So you can get more of a fuller picture. All right, now let's go to Oriana Fallaci's, this is her here again, right? Oriana Fallaci. She had interviewed His Imperial Majesty, right? Let's find out when she interviewed him. And it was actually June 24th, I think, 1973, might be. Let's go to Africa Speaks. All right, let's open up Africa Speaks. Because now, okay, it's kind of small here, but here's the interview from June 24th, 1973. June 24th, 1973. So let's see if we can make this a little bit larger for you. Let's see. Actually, do like this. Here we go. Good. Well, I don't think so. Some of it is actually out of frame over there. Oh, actually, that should be good. You should be seeing it more or less in the whole frame. All right. So let's go through this interview because it's important for you to understand this interview, right? So, interviewed His Imperial Majesty, the Lion of Judah has prevailed. Moa Andesa Zem Negeda Yehuda. Haile Selassie first, Qedamawi, Haile Selassie. Elect of God, Siyume Egaziavihir. King of Kings of Ethiopia, Negusa, Nagast, Ze Ethiopia. Right? So this is official. This is official. Recognize this. This is his official pronoun, or his official like cartouche in a sense, his name, his title, and the seal. The seal. This is the official seal in the English. So June 24th, 1973, right? The Emperor of Ethiopia, Lion of Judah, King of Kings, elect of God, power of the Trinity. Haile Selassie was interviewed by Oriana Fallaci, or Fallaci, like a fallacy, Oriana Fallaci, in his palace in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Now, Fallaci, she says some interesting things right here. She says, Your Majesty, I would like you to tell me something about yourself. Tell me, were you ever a disobedient youth? In fact, we was watching the Two Broke Girls thing, a commercial or something. And you see how Babylon is, because we're publishing this and others are talking about it and they're checking us out. We got, folks checking our channel out, what we're saying and what others like I and I are saying. And they're picking up on things. And they talked about the toxic man-child in the Two Broke Girls. You can check out that clip. Those who are on the media level, get that clip and, put in what we're saying here and add the inspiration that you have to really get that idea. How the same thing is going on right here in this particular interview. She says, the first thing she says is, tell me, were you ever a disobedient youth? But maybe I ought to ask you first whether you ever had time to be young, Your Majesty. This was it, ever had time. Now, His Majesty, or the Selassie here, says, we don't understand that question. What kind of question is that? It is obvious that we have been young. We weren't born old. We have been a child, a boy, a youth, an adult, and finally an old man. So the child, 1, boy, 2, youth, 3, adult, and old man. That's 5. Remember, 5 is the number in Christian biblical, overstanding, it's the number of grace. All right? Hana, as in Johannes, as in Johannes Arai, or the vision, the revelation of God's grace, or of St. John. All right? So it says, like everyone else, our Lord, the Creator, made us like everyone else. Maybe you wish to know what kind of youth we were. Well, we were a very serious, very diligent, very obedient youth. We were sometimes punished. But do you know why? because what we were made to study did not seem enough, and we wished to study further. We wanted to stay on at school after lessons were over. We were loath to amuse ourselves. That means we hated to amuse ourselves, to go riding, to play. We didn't want to waste time on games. So it wasn't about play. Wasn't about games. Remember when we were speaking about Lich Teferī and the man-child? Right? Let's go right here to Blue Letter Bible for a moment. Right? Lich Teferī and the man-child. Right? And let us look up man-child. Right? Let's look up man-child right here. Right? And Lich Teferī and man-child. Right? So it says 22 times. Right? So what we're interested in is one right here in verse 5 of chapter 12. Let me just make this large and we just read the highlight verse, and you can check out Lich Teferī, man-child, and 120 for yourself, right? So let's just bring that up, and here we go right here. So you see it? All right. So let's read this right here. This one and this one, right? It says, and she, right, this woman, that she prophetically is Ethiopia, right? And she brought forth a man-child. So remember when the word says, when Yahweh says, aren't you like the children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel? And also recall where Psalms 87 says, with Ethiopia, this man, right, this man-child was born there. We're speaking of Lich Teferī, right? It says, then she brought forth a man-child who was to rule, what? All nations. Remember the scepter that was stolen from Judah and from Ethiopia was returned by the Duke of Gloucester of the English monarchy, right? It says to rule all nations with a what? A rod of iron, and her child, right? Her child, Yeshimabet's child, and Ethiopia's holy. It is to Ethiopia's child, that new Jerusalem child, was what? Was caught up to God. And what does Christ say God is? It says God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Not just spirituality, it must be true spirituality. You understand? And to his throne, right? To his throne. Remember the throne of David, Ethiopia. Revelation 12 and 13. And it says, and when the dragon, look at this key word, the dragon, because that's going to tie in as we go further. The dragon saw that he was cast into or to the earth. He persecuted the woman. Which woman? Ethiopia. Thus we have the fascist invasion of Ethiopia circa 1936, right? So he persecuted the woman, that Christian, Judeo-Christian nation, which brought forth the man-child. So the man, it says right here, child is out right there. When you study it in Scripture, those things that are in the brackets, you find italicized in your Bible. So the translators put that there in order that the text would, would make a little bit more sense. So let's go on right here. It's a wonderful answer His Majesty gives her, right? Now, Fallaci, or Fallaci, says, Your Majesty, of all the monarchs still occupying the thrones, you are the one that has ruled the longest. Key statement right here. Of all the monarchs still occupying the thrones. You know when Revelation says, and I beheld, well actually Daniel says, and I beheld until the thrones were cast down. Right, and I beheld, okay, let's go here, because see, a lot of y'all are a little bit biblically, scripturally unstable, unlearned. So you need to be able to do studies like this so you'll find the truth, right, for yourself. So it says the thrones, right, let's look up thrones, right, and look up cast. And let's put down here so we can narrow in on the verse. And the thrones cast down, right? Daniel 7 and 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, And the ancient, when we say ancient, right, of days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the purest wool. His throne was like the fiery flame. Remember, it's the throne of David, right? And his wheels as burning fire. His wheels as burning fire. So when we look at some of these pics of His Imperial Majesty, right? This is for May 5th right here. Let's see if we can show you a picture of it. Let's open. This is a pretty stable Firefox here. But let's go Selassie, right? And let's put ancient, and let's put days, right? Selassie, ancient of days. There you go. Just we want to give you a visual. You know what I'm saying? We want to give you a visual. Let's look at some other images right here, right? You see his garment. You know what I'm saying? You see his hair. You see him. I just want you to understand, right? Who Fallaci or Fallaci, who she interviewed. Let's move this over a little bit over here. All right, so you can see there's that throne pic. In fact, okay, here's Mussolini. Just so you're the Ancient of Days. You over that right there. There's Mussolini, fascist. Remember, it said the dragon. Now, when you look at the Vatican, in the Vatican, in the inner sanctum, they have actually the dragon is their symbol. That's a secret symbol of the Vatican. There's others who have done vids on it and basically have brought that, to light. But we want to show you the ancient, right? The ancient. You see the ancient right there, the ancient of days, right? The ancient of days. Now, when you look further into Daniel's prophecy, it speaks about that kingdom, that the kingdom of God will be set up in those days. In those days, the days of who? You understand? The days of these ones over here. Let's just scroll over here for a moment, right? And days of these ones. Now, this is the League of Nations, right? Remember the League of Nations? You understand? The League of Nations that actually led to the United Nations. Let's get His Majesty, what just happened there? The picture flipped, you understand? But let's get a close-up, all right? Let's get that close-up. Here we have it, even better. You see the League of Nations, you understand? Showing you who, what, when, and why. That's the League of Nations. So we have the League of Nations connection right there, right? In fact, let's just open this up a little bit more right here. Because you have to recognize that all eyes, it says, when Christ in kingly character returned, all eyes will be able to see it. You understand? This is no CGIF or whatever like that. We clearly know they wasn't up on that yet, but technology and everything would increase. Now I want to show you this about the League of Nations too. This is their symbol. You know what I'm saying? This is their symbol right there. Now, when I was thinking of this, right, and the Spirit was speaking to me, right, the Holy Spirit, the Memphis Caduce, it said, when Alice Bailey, that Satanist, when she talks about externalization of the hierarchy, right, it's like this is inside, this is what's in the center of the five-pointed star. The externalization means these horns now come out. You know what I'm saying? And then when you look at the fact that what they call it, the Pentagon, it was built or whatever, September 11th. And September 11th is Ethiopia's New Year. You understand? And they wanted to persecute that woman, all of these Satanists. Let's put this over here, drop this off right here, right? So we have the League of Nations, right? Let's put it right here, the League of Nations, right? The League of Nations. All right, so we have their symbol right here. And okay, that's a snake right there, and this is some of the graphics, you know, from it. And so now when we see these points come out, right? So you can study up more. There's a lot of information out here. I think it was actually this picture right here. That was a picture right there from the League of Nations, right? You see the symbol right here, 1919. So you can clearly kind of make these connections, because Matthew speaks about those five, you know, those 5 steps. You understand that grace, how grace, you understand, was affirmed and verified. All right, so that's the League of Nations, right? That's the League of Nations, and that's the persecution. And there's that adult, I guess we can say, at the adult phase before the old man. That adult, was the man. Remember we showed you in Revelation chapter 12 at verse I think it was where it speaks about man and then child is in brackets. You know what I'm saying? And His Majesty speaking about these 5 steps, these 5 stages, should we say. So let's go on with this right here, because there's a main point connected with is God dead? And Rasta, your God is dead. You understand? Rebuking that, but showing the evidence of it right here now. So that part about the thrones being cast down, right? And what Fallaci asked, and here Donnell said that he kept looking till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, right? So Oriana Fallaci says, she says basically that, she says over here, bringing it back over here, right? She says, Your Majesty, of all the monarchs still occupying the thrones, you are the one that has ruled the longest. Okay, I need to share this with you too, as well. Let's look up King of Kings, right? Let's look up King of Kings. This is all on the Revelation, right? King of Kings, right? And we look up King of Kings, we're going to Timothy. All right, we're going to Timothy, going to a verse in Timothy right here. Let's see if we find Timothy. It says Timothy, here's Timothy right here, Timothy 6:15, which in his times, in his zemen, in the Adis zemen, he shall shew who is the blessed and the only potentate, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. In his times he shall do what? He shall show this. But it says right here that these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of Lords and King of Kings. The Father and the Son is one. And they that are with him are the called and chosen and faithful. Right? So let's continue right here. This is a very, it's interesting that what comes out their mouth, because like the devil knows that God is God, and they tremble. So what more do we do? Right? It says occupying the thrones, right? All the kings, okay, second sentence. Moreover, in all age that has seen the ruinous downfall of so many kings, you are the one, he is the one, the only absolute monarchy. And they were vexed. And the serpent and the dragon is vexed about that, right? Do you ever feel lonely? You see, she's trying to soft kill. Do you ever feel lonely in the world so different from the one you grew up in? And I always say, do you ever feel nostalgic about the past time, the good old days? Well, what does His Imperial Majesty respond? It is our opinion that the world hasn't changed at all. RasTafari. So he's not dealing with illusions. Right? He says, we believe, we admit, Na'amin, that such changes has modified nothing. So we say, oh, wow, look, everything is changing. We're in a different time. No, it's modified nothing. We don't ever notice, right, any differences between monarchies and republics. So we call ourselves, we're in a Republican society, like the republic for which it stands. But Obama is like the king, President Obama. You understand? George Bush was the king, and they were saying that after the 9/11 thing. To us, they appear two substantially similar methods of governing the nation. But if you ask the political sci-fi people who've gone to college and learned all this mumbo-jumbo, you understand, they would tell you something different, but now they're basically seeing that they didn't even understand how the economic system is working. Now they graduate, they can't even find a job, and what they studied is outmoded, outdated, and everything. And then they owe a whole bunch of money with it, right? So His Majesty is correct. To us, they appear two substantially similar methods of governing the nation. Well, tell us, what's the difference between a republic? See, when he says us and we, that's the Father and the Son. And saying us and we, that's the Father and the Son. Yehovah's, I want you to, from the theological, from Tawahido, from the Ritua Haimanot, to understand that from our Imnet, right? That Imnetachin, right? It says, he asks, what is the difference between a republic and a monarchy? Fallaci says, actually, Your Majesty, I mean, to me, it appears that in republics where democracy reigns, the leader is elected, but in monarchies, he isn't. That's their argument, right? Even today, that's their argument. Well, to me, and then he says right here, His Majesty says, we don't see where the difference lies. Is it really, I mean, we find out that really we got two choices, Romney and President Obama. You understand? And more than likely, you know, some of us might favor Obama more than Romney, because Romney's religion, you know, it doesn't have a good place for us as black people. So, you know, I mean, he never says, he never repudiates it. So that means he still believes in it, because he's still a Mormon, all right? So we have to walk the straight way. You understand? The way, the truth, and the life. So Fallaci says, never mind. That's right. She has a never mind. She's in Neverland. Never mind, Your Majesty. What is your opinion of democracy? And it's very important that Ethiopians pay attention to this, right? His Majesty says democracy, republics. What do these words signify? What do these words signify? What have they changed in the world? Have men become better, more loyal, kinder? Are the people happier? All goes on as before, as always. Illusions. Right? Besides, one should consider the interests of a nation before subverting it with words. Democracy is necessary in some cases. And we believe, the Father and the Son believe, some African peoples might adopt it. But in other cases, it is harmful, a mistake. You see, and many people many people are learning this, unfortunately, sadly, too late. So it's very clear that His Imperial Majesty, you understand, was the only one telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? And it was in spirit and in truth. Trust but verify. So as we verify, you know what I'm saying, the teaching of His Imperial Majesty, as we verify his life, then most assuredly, he was not down with boisterous white supremacy. You understand? But they hated him. You know what I'm saying? And they plotted that conspiracy against His Imperial Majesty along with the careless Ethiopians. This is what is very clear for us to understand and should and must be understood very, very, you know, in spirit and in truth. Pray on this. For real, don't take our word for it. Really sincerely pray to the Father in the name of the Son, Jesus Christus, Getachin. Anyway, let us move forward. So we wanted just to point that out right there, you know, as we go through this, right? So she goes on, Fallaci says, Your Majesty, have you ever regretted? Notice how are you picking up something? I mean, do you have a spirit of discernment? Can you hear these words? Here's what she's saying. Your Majesty, have you ever regretted? You know when folks talk that way? Have you ever regretted your kingly what? Fate? Not your kingly faith, which is the royal law. But have you ever regretted your kingly fate? Have you ever dreamed? Have you ever dreamed? I've dreamed a dream, you know, of living the life of an ordinary mortal? So notice, she doesn't think His Majesty, Oriana Fallaci, right, Fallaci, she doesn't even think, you know, that His Majesty is an ordinary mortal, right? His Imperial Majesty, Abba says, we, the Father and the Son, don't understand that question. You know, I mean, you got to write that one down. You know, if somebody comes to you, we don't understand that question. We don't understand that question. Even at the hardest, most painful moments, we have never regretted or cursed our fate. Never. And why? Why should we? Why should we have? We were born of royal blood. RasTafari. Authority, right, is ours, is I and I's by right. And since our Lord, right, Getachin, Adonenu, the Creator, has deemed we might serve our people as a father serves his son. Wow. You over that right there? As a father serves his son. I mean, we have to study this. I mean, in light of the word, not just subjectively, but keeping our eye on the object. You understand? On the Amen. You understand? The Amen. And Amen be Yeshua's name. Amen be Christ's name. So he says that we might serve. He has deemed that we might serve our people as a father serves his son. Being a monarch is a great joy to us. It's what we were born for and what we have always lived for. Wow. Wow. Now you have to understand this. I mean, can we please, because I just need to share this with y'all, and those who get it, you understand, share it with those who are willing to receive, right? What does His Majesty say right here, right? And we have to understand this right here about the Father and the Son, right? So let us put Father and let us put throne, right? Let's put Father and throne, right? Father and throne. Actually, we should, how many, 17, okay, so it's one page worth. We're going to Revelation, all right? Here we're in Revelation, right? And let's understand this right here. That's what we say, Christ and his kingly character. Look at Luke 32. He, speaking of Yeshua, right? Speaking of the Son, he shall be great and shall be called the Son of the Highest, right? And the Lord God, Adonai Yahweh, shall give to him the throne of his father David, right? Now, Revelation 3:21 says, to him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me. This is Yeshua speaking, the Son speaking. In my throne, even as I also overcame and am set down with my Father in his throne. Now, remember when Christ, when he was ascended, right? He ascended to where? Where did he ascend? He ascended to the what? Right hand of the Father, right? He ascended to the right hand of the Father. To the right hand of the Father. He is seated down, right? Let's see, the Lord says to my Lord, let's put sit and put right hand, right? Sit at my right hand, right? Sit at my right hand. Okay, we have Psalm 110, and that's one of the Psalms that His Imperial Majesty chanted, you understand, and that was chanted when he was coronated in that acceptable year of the Lord, 1930, right? A Psalm of David. The Lord said to my Lord. In other words, this is caps here. This is 30:68, and this is 113. This is Yahweh, and this is Adonai, right? Adonai. And we already showed you how the Luciferian and Satanists, they hate Adonai. They call him black because, yes, he is black, right? Sit thou, you know what I'm saying, at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. So the Father, Yahweh, is saying to my Lord, you know what I'm saying, my Lord, Adonai, Yeshua, the Lord, that Jesus, Yeshua, is Adonai, he is Lord, right? Understand that right there. So the Father is saying to the Son, sit at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. Now think about the until, the philosophy, which hold one race superior and another. And how many untils? There are 9 untils, right? There are 9 untils there. So let's go here. I mean, there's a whole scene where Yeshua also asks them, you understand, whose son is the Messiah, right? And there's a whole thing that also kind of connects with this. Now remember Saint Stephen, Stephanos, how he was martyred, right? Look right here. It says, okay, David himself saith in the book of Psalms, the Lord, Yahweh, right, said to my Lord, you understand? Or it might be Dios, here this is Dios, said to my Lord, to Kurios, right? Or actually, they have probably Kurios here, and this is the Greek. You know what I'm saying? It says, sit thou on my right hand. Now here it says, hereafter shall the Son of Man sit on the right hand of the what? The power, right? The power of God. That's authority, that's higher, right? As the might and power of the Trinity. Acts 2:34, for David is not ascended into the heavens, but he saith himself, he bearing witness that the Lord said to my Lord, sit thou on my right hand. Now we see right here in Hebrews 1:13, it says, but to which of the angels saith he at any time, sit on my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. And that is the whole basis of the enmity. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole basis of the enmity between Satan or Lucifer, right? Lucifer and the black man and humanity in general. You know what I'm saying? So we have Christ saying, right, that the overcomers, speaking to I and I, will sit with him on that throne. Now, if you look into the book of, where is it? Was it Ephesians, where it says we are seated in heavenly places? Look that up in the scriptures. We are seated with Christ, right, in heavenly places. In the new birth, we are seated with him in heavenly places. So let's understand the Father and the Son relationship here. You know, so His Majesty is telling you himself. And in this particular interview right here, let us return to this and go through this. This is some like rhema words right here to help ones to see the fullness and have the scriptures to refer to. So what are we saying? We're saying that the Father himself, after the ascension, after the millennium, after that particular time has gone through, yes, there was a millennium, right? After that time, and we can study that when we study in the 7 churches. So His Majesty comes in the church that's known as Philadelphia, which is brotherly love. And if you understand the apostasy that's working out and through the churches, you can then see that we was told of this time period and this dispensation where the Father, you understand, now would come forward where God would make known to all visit all nations and make known His salvation. What is the salvation of His Majesty? It is the Jesus Christos. It is Jesus Christ. What is the salvation of God? Now, someone say, well, God don't need salvation. Well, okay, you can say that. You can say what you're going to say. But the Word says that God will show His salvation. You understand? His salvation. You see, your interpretation is wrong because it's been powered by the Gentile misunderstanding. You know what I'm saying? Gentile misinterpretation. And also the racism, that enmity Satan has put into the hearts of white supremacy, of the Gentile world dominion. We see that with the racism, and if it's black, it's bad, and so forth and so on. And even we can't even see this in this postmodern time. But let's get through this right here. Now, Fallaci, she goes on to say, Your Majesty, you are Ethiopia. Wow. So that means in taking His Majesty out the equation is like taking Ethiopia out the equation. So let's see how the Son of Man is linked. You know what I'm saying? The Son of Man is linked with Ethiopia. Ethiopia is that woman, and that's that woman who is Israel. Spiritual Israel. You know what I'm saying? Is Ethiopia. Now, Your Majesty, you are Ethiopia. And he just said to her that this is a father-son relationship. That's why he says we, right? You are Ethiopia. It's you that keeps it in hand. The hand of the Lord, right? That keeps it united. Wow. That keeps that unity. Are you understanding this conspiracy, this COINTELPRO conspiracy against the black Messiah, against Christ and His kingly character? What will happen when you are no longer there? That's what they were concerned with. That was probably the heart of the question that she was sent to ask. You understand? What will happen? So we can see that what has happened, and let's just show you this right here again. We can see that what has happened didn't just happen the way they want to make you believe. You understand? This fragmentation didn't just happen just like that. But that truly it was, and it still is, because it's ongoing, this was and this is a conspiracy. You understand? Against His Majesty. right? This is where we're at. Now, it's interesting because if it happened in Ethiopia, how should it not happen in every nation? You see a lot of these other nations ain't going for it. They're trying to fight back. You know what I'm saying? They begin to recognize. Now, we have to recognize, as Matsy already spoke on these things, we might not have opportunity in this vid to get into it, but if you look for the Victory Day, the Independence Day, the May 5th, 1941 day speech of His Imperial Majesty, he basically clearly states that the godless and the cruel dragon, you understand, has once again arisen. Now we know what this dragon is. You know what I'm saying? We recognize what this dragon is, and this kind of will lead into that the video clip that we originally wanted to start out with. You understand, from the power behind the New World Order. He was watching this vid. It's out there on the YouTubes. He was watching it, and then the Rhema, the Rhema word basically revealed to I that this will help explain better to ones and ones this scene right here. What happened with the students? You know what I'm saying? What happened with the students? You understand? And these teachers that came into Ethiopia, you understand? Not the first and maybe even not the second bunch, but definitely the latter bunch of these teachers that came into Ethiopia, what they were really on. So maybe that will be better for another part, because that's a little bit different. You understand? That's another subject matter, although we've touched on it from the very beginning. All right? So we try to take this to about an hour or so. So just bear with I. All right? So His Majesty asks, and this I think will be the third time, right? Because she asks, what will happen when you are no longer there? She already said that he is Ethiopia. He keeps it in hand. You understand? And she's already, you know what they call, like when you're playing cards, it's like a tell? She's already signaling a tell in what she's saying to anybody who has discernment, anybody who's wise, would or should immediately pick up on this. His Majesty says, what do you mean? We do not understand this question. Remember, they only move on the physical level, on what they can see, so forth and so on. You know what I mean? They only move on this. So she said, like, because the Father and the Son is there. As long as they are holy ones, as long as there's one who's calling on His name and in spirit and in truth, He is there. Yovas. Now, Fallaci says, when you die, Your Majesty. You see that right there? When you die. He says, what do you mean? We do not understand this question. She says, when you die, Your Majesty, right? Boom. You know what we're saying right here? When you die, is God dead? Are you overseeing this? Are you seeing this link? And notice how His Majesty says, we, right? The Father and the Son, you understand, doesn't understand that question. You understand, doesn't understand that question. You doesn't understand that question. And she says, well, when you die. So we say, this is that link with, is God dead? You understand? This is that link right here with, is God dead? And they already had signaled it. Now, this is 73. You understand? The conspiracy now is about to get into high gear. You understand? But it could never happen unless there were traitors within. That's the key thing right there. You understand? Because they've been fighting against Ethiopia ever since Ethiopia was Ethiopia. And His Majesty can give you a little history lesson about Ethiopia here. His Majesty says right here, says Ethiopia has existed for 3,000 years. In fact, it exists ever since the first man appeared on earth. Wow. Since the first man did what? Since the first man appeared on earth. My dynasty, not dynasty, but the conspirators, they're going to dynasty, but I is our divine dynasty, right? And he says, my dynasty has ruled since the Queen of Sheba met King Solomon. And a son was born, right? A son was born of their union. It is a dynasty that has gone through the centuries and will go on for centuries more. So some people say, oh, the monarchy can't be restored. That's what they think. They might say over their dead body, but hey, whatever. You understand? His Majesty already has said the word. The Rhema word has gone out, and that word will not go back. It will return empty. You understand? It will go on for what? Centuries more. So what we're seeing right now is like the baby birthing, in a sense, you know, in the big picture. You understand? It's like a little hiccup. I mean, of course, because of men and people and their deeds, it's much worse for them. But so be it. Let's say if we did put this picture here, you understand? I don't think we did. You understand? And forgive me, brothers and sisters. There was a picture of Solomon, the Queen of Sheba. You understand? Picture from our other drive, right? From our other drive. But let's bring this up right here so you can understand where we're at in this prophetic picture. Because prophecy is very, very important, right? The prophecy right here shows this, right? If you can remember the stone which the builders refused. You understand? The stone which the builders refused, becoming the head of the corner, right? The stone which the builders refused. Here's where we're at. This stone that fills at the kingdom there. This is judgment, right? The divided kingdoms. You understand? We also have the League of Nations part, Christ's kingdom, right? Christ's kingdom, the kingdom of David. So you can see that link, how that link comes into full view right there. And that stone right there that crashes on this divided kingdom, the feet of the beast, or the feet of this so-called New World, really it's the Old World Order. But His Majesty is explaining that this dynasty is not a Johnny-come-lately or something just spring up, but this dynasty has gone on, and he says that it will, you know what I'm saying? He says that it will go on for what? He says for centuries more, for centuries. Let us understand centuries means like hundreds of years. Some people think that this is not the case, but if you study Ethiopia history, you'll see that there were other times, not like this in its intensity, but there were other times when there were slight interruptions, you know what I'm saying, due to the enemies, the Satan, right? But he goes on to say that a king is not indispensable. Whoa. A king is what? Not indispensable. And besides, my succession is already ensured. There is a crown prince, and he will rule the country when we are no longer there. There's already a crown prince. You know what I'm saying? There's already that crown by Hittawi. There's already a RasTafari. There's already the crown prince. This is what we have decided, and so it must be, right? And so remember, we're not even 40 years. In fact, we're like in the space of one king. So you recognize that in the Bible, it's about the space of one king. The space, the divine space of one king is 40 years, right? So Fallaci, she comes back again and she says, on the whole, Your Majesty, yours has not been a very happy life. Are you getting what's going on here? You know, I wish you could put up a picture on the side right here, but others who rework, you understand, who rework this, you understand, can fill it up. All right, that permission granted. Right, those you love have all died. Now this makes me think that those who he has loved really probably were killed, or there was, you know what I mean? Not that they just died. You understand? Because you can see where she is. You can see the bend. You understand? You know, in her serpentine form. From her words. By your words you'll be justified. By your words you'll be condemned. You see what she's saying? So she says, your wife, 2 daughters, you have lost many of your illusions. Now she's trying to throw that word back at our Father. How dare that biatch? You understand? You over? And many of your dreams. He already said he's not about illusions or dreams. But she's an unrepentant serpent, right? This Fallaci woman right here, right? She goes on and says, but you most, I imagine. Now she's imagining. She's saying she's a jinn. She's saying I'm a jinn, right? She's imagining, right? Have accumulated great wisdom. And of this I ask, how does Haile Selassie view death? All right? Are you seeing it? how does Haile Selassie view death? And this could be a whole vid. You understand? I mean, a necessary sermon in every region where ones want to know the truth for themselves. Right? So how does Haile Selassie view death? What's His Majesty's answer? What? View what? View what? You remember what the word says, that those who trust will not even see death? You understand? Those who trust in Him will not even see death. There's one that says see death, right? Well, let's just go through this. It's death to your majesty, death to your majesty. No, she really was saying death to you, your majesty, right? His man said death? Death? Who is this woman? Satan. You understand? That's Satana. That was Satana right there. Where does she come from? She comes from the pit, right? What does she want? Enough. Back up. Go away. And this is Kasufi or Sesufi, Kasufi. You understand? Kasufi, Kasufi, Kasufi. In other words, go away, away with you. That was Oriana Fallaci. It's full of cheese. Let's just show you her mug. Let's see the mug on her. Here's her right here. Right? Here's her right here. That was the woman right there, right? Here's her again right here doing some other kind of thing. She's in Tehran. Wanted to tear Tehran down. Here's a caricature of her. Oh, you see that right there? Where she thought she could put somebody, make somebody small. You understand? She's the big one, right? Yeah, she's a big one, all right. You understand? That's her right there. That's the woman right there, right? So, brothers and sisters, see Rastafari. You understand? Rastafari, ride on. You know, ride on. RasTafari, Wataderoch. You understand? Soldiers of Jah, Rastafari. So I hope you kind of get an overview. This is more expanding on the Is God Dead? You understand? Picking up on that, Is God Dead? You can see the half of the story. You understand? You can get that other half of the story that was not told. All right? So share this, download this, put it out on DVD, share this with others, you know, different churches of Rastafari, mansions and Bible studies, you know, for an honest, you know, for something that's honest so you can get some monies and get more blanks and permission granted, you understand, in the spirit and the truth of the King of Kings and His Christ. So we're going to sum up right here on this part and probably mainly call this part, you know, concerning, you know, God is dead, Rasta, your God is dead, and the death of His Majesty, the alleged. You understand? But you know what? Before we just sum up on this right here, of course, we have to give you this. And if we had the Abba Kadus, you know, the Abba Kadus photo, that basically right there. Let's do this so we can get that, you know, so we can get that photo right there. Let us look up, actually in Revelation, right? In Revelation, let us, is it on the Abba or is it on the, let's see if we can get that right there. Okay, so there's a verse right here, and we want to give you the verse for this, and it's right, dead, alive, live. And let's see, is it dead, alive, and dead? Let's see, right here. It's a Revelation verse. Here it goes right here. You see this verse right here? Verse 118. As well as verse 2 and 8 concerning that whole death, that whole death thing. So we see that, you know, like it says, Matthew has never, you know, cursed. You know, he hasn't cursed his fate, as it were. You know, to serve Ethiopia as a father, right, serves his son. You know what I'm saying? So we know that His Majesty is speaking spiritually. You know what I'm saying? Speaking spiritually at that point. So revelation, right? Revelation reveals the truth. So when you see that particular photo right there, let us bring this up. Because we want to keep this in time right here. Because I am he that liveth and was dead. You know what I'm saying? And was dead, right? Even just dead to the world, or, you know, like when somebody, I'm dead to the world, right? Right? And behold, I am alive forevermore, amen, and have the keys of hell and of death. John is going to give the Satanists and the Luciferians and the enemies, right? Because all that innocent blood, you don't give them hell. You know what I'm saying? And death. Revelation 2:8, it says, and to the church, and to the angel of the church in Smyrna, write these things. Right? Right. It says, right. These things saith the first and the last. Qedamawi Haile Selassie, the first, or Haile Selassie first, the last king of kings of Ethiopia, which was what? Dead and is alive. Right? And here we go right here, you understand, with a picture testimony. You understand? And stay tuned. We're going to speak about the sightings. You know, somebody talking about sightings and other sightings. We're not looking for any other sightings. We don't need any other sightings. Because what the Rastafari said, Jah live, Yahai, Jah live, children, yeah. You know what I'm saying? That he lives, behold. You know what I'm saying? 120, behold, he lived, and he lived forevermore. We now, as the children, as the faithful, must meet him there. You know what I'm saying? Not in just physical Ethiopia, but one enters into the gates. His gates, remember, one must enter into his gates in that new birth, in that purity, you understand, of the new birth, of the faith in our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. But wherever we are, you know what I'm saying, we can meet him there, because remember what Revelation says? That he will be in us and dwell in us. You know what I'm saying? He will be in his people and he will dwell in his people. What the prophet said, that there's going to come a time when nobody will have to say, know God or like learn of the Lord or have to teach anybody about like religion. You understand? Because we're going to be, that spirituality in the new birth will be in I and I. That's the fullness and the fulfillment of the prophetic word. So when ones and ones want to speak about these things, please let them check this out. And like we said, permission granted to the brothers and the sisters, the co-laborers, you know, and to download these vids and put them together. You understand? Be creative, but be in the spirit and the truth. You understand? And allow His Holy Spirit to give you that fruit. You understand? Turn to Him. Pray to the Father, to Abba, in the name of Geta Jesus Christos. Make your petitions, you understand, known. You understand? And have faith, my brothers and sisters. This too will pass. We have overcome. Because as He is, so are we in this seclorum. Amen. And all the Rastafari saith Amen. Shalom, Ras Tafari.